You get to it if you just touch the white of the button, they pop up on the screen, so you've got quick access to them. Same with lights. If you flash the lights, the light control pops up as well. Also, if you've got the lights on like that, and you've got the green lights on the screen, you can tap those and that brings up the light control detail as well, so you don't need to go fumbling through the menu. You can get to the same thing under lights, but it's there as well. Yeah, the gear levers on the right. One thing we might actually show you the video from Tesla. There's a video they've got, it's like a minute long, talking about how to engage Autopilot, and that's probably the most sort of significant control that you'll be using frequently. That's much easier to explain in video and see someone using it live, double tapping on the control, and so if you're driving along, double tap into drive and it will go into Autopilot. If you've got auto steer engaged, so a single click will get you Autopilot. If you have auto steer engaged, a double tap on that will get you auto steer as well. If you drive through speed signs and the speed of the road changes, you can do a tap down and that will realign the cruise speed with the speed signs, which is handy. I wish it did that automatically, but you have to do it manually sometimes.
My Model 3 does that automatically.
Sometimes it depends on the road. So,
yeah.
So some of the map data,
I feel like
if it's a regional road, it does, but if it's a national highway, it doesn't. There's sort of a.
Well, I can come off the M1, go into Tugun, and it will. I've been doing 80 the whole way because of the roadworks.
Yeah.
It will change me down to 70, then to 60 to take the corner, and then it's 80 as I come back out of the corner, and it'll take me back to 80. But I believe that...
Whereas coming on the Southeast Freeway today, there's some 80 near IKEA, like some roadworks are doing there, and it didn't go down to 80. The speed sign, and it didn't drop the speed of the car at all.
Yeah.
And didn't change the speed on the screen.
Do you have your speed settings set to speed limit? Like when you...
Well, that doesn't change that specifically. I've got it set so you can change whether it's a percentage or number of kilometres. I think I've got it set to
I feel
plus
like
4 kilometres or 4%, I think.
Yeah, we've had Bluey since May last year, and I feel like every time I drive, if I drive a particular road, it learns that road, and then it because it doesn't do it on all roads, but it does do it on ones, particularly on my way to work roads.
So the map data comes from OpenStreetMap, so the underlying, what type of road it is, how many lanes it's got, how many lanes, the lane indication as you take an exit and stuff like that, comes from OpenStreetMap. And so does the speed data, so the map speed data, but then it's also reading speed signs using the camera as well. And the interactions between that in Australia, since that whole speed camera detection thing, have just been terrible, and they remain terrible. And if there was one thing that really grinds my gears about my car, it's how terribly it deals with speed limit changes. I really hope it gets sorted out at some point. I feel like it's one of these things where they have this, the full self-driving feature in the future and the sort of software stack that goes with that, and they changed little things, like they changed the radar stuff recently, but that was just because they got rid of the hardware in the newer cars, so they just wanted to get everyone onto the same software that did the distance measuring without the radar. So they changed that for their own sort of production purposes. But I feel like haven't really improved Autopilot dramatically since 2019, or probably actually early 2020. There was a sort of significant improvement in it, but it's been pretty static ever since. I feel like we're on treading water, waiting for the FSD software stack to come through, which will still improve cars that haven't paid for FSD. Like the cars that have only got Autopilot will still have that engine under them. You just won't have the additional features on top.
Yeah.
But it will still improve its behaviour based on that software stack. Anyway, somewhat off topic. So the interior, with the front seats, I was talking about this earlier, is if you have a towel, you can tuck the towel under the headrest at the front. It's really nice if you go swimming or it's sweaty or whatever, you like sitting on a towel. The rear headrest in a Model 3 and possibly a Model Y, we're about to find out, there is a centre headrest. It's almost invisible, and it is the same in Model Y. You just put your fingers under the edge of that top padding and that centre headrest comes up. I would highly recommend if there was an adult or anyone whose head is above the back of the back seat, put the headrest up. It's a very significant improvement in reducing whiplash in an accident because it brings you, the car gets hit from behind and accelerates suddenly from the impact of the rear, your head flips back. If the headrest is there, it hits the headrest instead rather than bending your neck severely. So definitely use that if there's adults in the centre seat. Folding seats in Model 3 and Model Y, they've got this little handle at the top, you just grab that. The Model Y has also got an electric release at the back.
Yeah, I'll push this down so you can.
Yeah. The Model Y is also, if you can lock it at multiple angles there, whereas the Model 3 it just attaches to the boot at one spot. And yeah, the electric releases there.
Back with a bit of force.
Yeah. Can you adjust the front seats far enough back that it would hit the back seats? It certainly doesn't in the Model 3. Anyway.
It probably would.
Yeah.
Greg drives with it on the entry. We've got easy entry that we use, so it would, I would expect that.
Still clear.
Oh no, still clears up.
Yeah, on Model 3, if you've got the front seats all the way back, then the headrest hit the seat, so.
Yeah.
But they're not electrical release anyway, so it doesn't really matter. The seat controls are similar to most electric seats. They've got a simile of the seat itself, and you can push that either way. On the driver's seat, it's also got lumbar support, which is a little disc. It's actually got about 5 little airbags in strips across the back of the seat, and what sort of clock angle on that little circle you push depends on which one gets inflated or deflated. If you push the front, it's inflating those different sort of air sections. If you push the back of them, it's deflating them, and that just adjusts your lumbar support to whatever height and area you'd like more support in. There are USB ports in the front centre console section along the back edge of it, so towards the rear of the car. There are 2 USB sockets in there. There's a 12-volt outlet in the centre console at the front, so when you plug in an air compressor or something like that. A Model Y also has an additional socket in the rear. And the emergency.
It does have the USBs at the back.
Oh, and the USBs at the back for the backseat passengers in the centre vent as well.
Yeah.
So emergency door handles, the doors are electric. So all the locks and the windows are all electric. So you'll see if you half shut the door that glass there's actually quite a gap along the top there, because as you open the door, the glass dips down, and when it closes, it goes back up under the gutter to waterproof it. So that's all sort of coordinated because the handles have got sensors in them on both sides. It coordinates the dipping of the glass in a millisecond, the dipping of the glass and the unlocking of the door in the right order so that it never collides. So that's why, but there is a mechanical release, so that if you were in an accident or the car was fully disabled and you had to get the doors open, there is a mechanical release there. There's this handle you pull up, which is somewhat like a normal car door handle, but sort of hidden and a bit smaller and a bit awkward to use. And that will mechanically unlock the door. It doesn't necessarily, because it's mechanical and not electrical, it can't do that coordination of dipping the mirror, dipping the window glass at the right time. So there's a possibility of damaging either the trim, the glass scraping out over that edge, and possibly if the car was asleep or whatever, you might close it again and have it smash into the top edge of the door and smash the glass. So always use the electric button to unlock the door, and that's what you'll get. The car will hassle you if you use the emergency release button. It'll say you shouldn't do this normally. Next slide.
For getting out safely if it's disabled, what about, can people from outside get in if it's disabled to, would they have to smash the window to?
They'd have to smash the window and then use the emergency release. Yeah. So that's, and it brings up, why does the car have an why does the car have a 400 volt battery in the floor and a 12 volt battery in the front? And that's part of it, so that if any of the airbags go off, if there's any sort of accident or anything like that, there's a relay inside the casing of the 400 volt battery that disconnects that battery from the rest of the car. so that all of that high voltage is in one sealed metal container, so that if there's any damage to any of the rest of the car, there'll be no electric shock issues or power. It won't keep running or anything like that. It'll die as soon as anything significant happens to the frame of the car. There's actually sensor cables that run all the way around the car and if any of those cables get broken, it'll disconnect that battery. So if there's any significant impacts, it'll safely shut down the battery. But that battery, when you hit something and you're still swerving across the highway, you still want ABS and power steering and powered brakes and all that sort of stuff, and that all gets done by the low voltage battery. That contactor also, just the whole time that contactor's closed, there's a bunch of battery management stuff running and draining a 0.5% a day or so if the car's awake, and it saves that. It shuts that whole battery down so it's not being used and just runs everything off the smaller battery. It will regularly, and that's the sounds you hear, random sounds in the middle of the night. It will, if the low voltage battery starts draining, just doing, it's connected to 4G, it's running effectively a little computer and a mobile phone and, stuff like that. It will turn on the high voltage battery, charge up the low voltage battery, and then shut it down again. So you hear it go clunk, clunk, and it'll run for half an hour and then discharge again. So now we're getting into touchscreen, which